Hello, I'm Kayla. My husband's name is John. I'm 21, he's 23, and in August we will be married for 3 years. Some of you guys might know me from my Instagram page, Fertility and Fitness, but for the rest of you, anybody new, I'll explain a little bit more about myself and why we're doing this. We've been trying to conceive for a little while now. Actually, November will mark 2 years since we began seeing a fertility doctor. Well, someone for treatment. We started with regular OBGYN, and she started us off with, the typical blood work and semen analysis and everything. And that all came out normal, except for that I don't ovulate. But we knew that already. That's why we started with the doctors in the first place. I have extremely short cycles, 16 days on average, usually about 16. Sometimes I can get it up to, well, not me, I can't really do anything, but sometimes it can be up to 19 days, but that's not usually the case. It's usually pretty close to 16. And so we did the blood work, and that all came out normal, except for the ovulation thing. But we kind of knew that it wasn't going to be a super easy endeavor, because I was kind of skeptical when they said that there was nothing wrong, because how can you have 2 periods a month and be totally fine? Like, there was something wrong. But she didn't find anything in the numbers that was wrong, so we carried on. We did Clomid for a couple months. We did that at 100 milligrams, and that did nothing. That did absolutely nothing. No ovulation. I was totally unresponsive. But the one thing that it did make me do was gain a lot of weight. I gained about 25 pounds. So, no baby, but I got the belly. But we gave it a couple tries with the Clomid, and that was a no-go for any kind of, that was no benefit to us whatsoever, the Clomid. But then we had to stop treatment because my husband is in the Army, and he had to leave for about 3 months of training. So, I can't really try to conceive by myself. So we were on a break for the few months that he was gone. And while he was gone, I continued with my everyday life stuff. Like, I took all my supplements, and I tracked temperature, and I took ovulation tests like nobody's business. And nothing made much of a difference because I wasn't ovulating, so, and I wasn't gonna force myself to ovulate with the vitamins, but we can always hope. So I did that, and when he came home, it was actually time for his reenlistment. So those of you that are military spouses or active duty, like, you know how it goes. That's when you find out where you're gonna go next. So we found out we were moving to Hawaii from Colorado. There's worse places we could have gone. But there wasn't enough time. There wasn't enough time to start treatment again while we were in Colorado. We still had about half the year left, but there just wasn't enough time to get to a doctor because my referral expired, so I would have to go back to my doctor and get a new referral set up, and then wait for an opening at the doctor's office, and then just keep going with all of that. And that would have taken too long, and we wouldn't have been able to really invest any time with a doctor in that limbo period. So we kind of just waited, and we continued to try as much as you can when there's no ovulation happening. So, like, I would take ovulation tests, and if it started getting even the slightest bit darker, that's when we would just be like, okay, maybe this month. So we were always kind of hoping that there'd be like a miraculous ovulation happening. It wasn't realistic, but you do what you can. So we finally moved, and we moved in February, so only a couple months ago now. But as soon as we got settled in, I went and I met with my new, like, regular doctor, my primary doctor, and I just explained to her that, we've already started the treatment, like, we just need to continue, so I just need a referral to an infertility specialist. And she was so on board with that. Like, she got that set up immediately. And that appointment was on a Wednesday, and I think I got a call from the infertility clinic at the hospital on Friday. And we set up the appointment for when I came home, because I had actually flown to California for my sister's wedding. And then I got the information set up and everything, and then when I came back, we got the ball rolling. So when I got there, my husband actually went with me to that first appointment. He was able to get off of work, and so we did, the basic, go over everything, what we've done, what worked, what didn't work, mainly what didn't work. And so she kind of gave us a protocol. Like, we have a whole plan for at least the next 6 months. We have a pretty solid plan for 6 months, and then after that it'll change up. So let's see. Yeah, we did all the basic stuff, and I really lucked out, because that first appointment was the day after my period started. So I was able to get all of my blood work done at that appointment. So she wrote me all of the orders and stuff, and I just walked over to the lab, because the clinic is inside the hospital. So I just walked over to the lab, and I got my blood taken for all the tests. I think I had like 18 tests done that day, so that was like 11 vials of blood. It was insanity. But we did that, and she had me call the following day to schedule an HSG for, actually ended up being exactly a week out from that day. So for those of you that don't know what an HSG is, it's an x-ray where they insert a catheter through your cervix, and they inflate a balloon to hold it in place, and they inject this contrast material, it's kind of like a dye, into your uterus, and it goes up through your uterus and through your fallopian tubes, and it shows whether or not they're clear, if there's a blockage, things of that nature. So ideally, you just want the dye to just flow right through, and you can watch it on the little screen. It's kind of cool to see. So, like, for anybody that might have a blockage, sometimes the dye, just them pushing the dye through, like, removes the blockage, and they can be on their merry way. So for me, it was totally clear. There was no problems. The fluid came out the way it was supposed to, so that wasn't an issue. And then exactly a week following, I had a follow-up appointment. And like I said, my periods are about 16 days apart. So by that time, I was due for my period. I wasn't sure if it was going to be on time, though, because I had my HSG done the day after my period ended. But then I was spotting like every day from the day that my HSG was up until the day before my doctor's appointment. I didn't have anything the day before my appointment. And then I showed up to the appointment early, like an hour early, and I used the restroom, and my period started. So when I went in for my appointment, he was like, okay, well, your blood work and everything looks fine, like always, but you'll just have to call and set up a day for your ultrasound. You call on your first day of your period. And I was like, well, you see, I think I started already. So because I started that day, he was just like, okay, well, then we'll just do it now. And so he whipped out the ultrasound machine, and it didn't take much to see that I do have polycystic ovaries. It was plain as day, like, and I was pretty surprised, because he didn't even have to say what it was. Like, he just like pointed the little ultrasound thingy over my ovary, and I was like, yeah, that's for sure what it is. But nobody had ever taken the time to find out what was wrong with me. I started my period at 9, so when I was 9 years old, like, I was having 2 periods a month since then, and I'm gonna be 22 this year. So, like, finally getting a diagnosis was like a big step. It was insane. like finally having a reason. But it was kind of a shock too, because I mean, I'd never had any of like the obvious like PCOS symptoms. Like I'm not like overweight. I don't have like the acne or the abnormal hair growth, and like I haven't had any of like I don't have pain. There's no like indications that I had PCOS other than I just had like abnormal bleeding. And so I had done some research in the past, like over the past couple of years about it, because that was the only thing that made sense as far as like Dr. Google goes, because, you know, you Google something and it automatically says you're like have cancer or you're dying. So omitting those diagnoses, like PCOS is the only thing that seemed to make any sense. So I kind of just went with it, and I've done my research on it. So when I found out that's what it was, like I wasn't like super like scared or shocked or anything. I was just like, oh well, I get it now. So now we have a diagnosis finally after this long. But so because I started my period that day, he was able to write my prescription and get things started. So that day he prescribed me Femera, 5 milligrams, cycle days 3 through 7. And I started that on Saturday, this past Saturday, and I finished yesterday. So today is cycle day 8. And I go back in on May 2nd, 2016 for my mid-cycle ultrasound, and that's where we're going to find out if I'm responding. Basically, we're going to see if there's like follicles growing, and if I do have some good-sized follicles that are developing from the Femera, then I will be taking an Ovidrel trigger injection, which will be kind of terrifying because I don't want to give myself a shot, but I have to do that because John will probably be at work, so he won't be able to do it for me. But that I have to I have to like pinch your stomach, and then you like inject it into like, it's like 2 inches over from like your belly button. So that'll be terrifying. But what that will do is that will force ovulation to happen. So it's really exciting, and it's really terrifying all at the same time, because I've never ovulated before. I've never had like a real chance at getting pregnant. And now that, like, granted the medication works, like I could truly get pregnant. And I'm kind of scared because I don't know how I'm gonna react if I don't get pregnant this first time with the shot, because I mean, in my head, obviously, like, you know, it's the first time. There's like it probably won't happen the first time. You know, you've got to give it time. You've got to test things out. It's all trial and error when it comes to fertility medication. But I mean, if I ovulate, this will be the first time ever. And I feel like I'm probably going to be pretty like devastated if I don't get pregnant after ovulating, because it'll be the first time ever that I ovulated, and that was the only thing standing in my way from pregnancy. That was it. I don't ovulate. So I feel like it's going to be kind of like a gut punch if I don't, because it'd be like the one thing that I needed to do, I did, and it didn't work. But, you know, I've got to focus because it'll be okay. Like, there's still plenty of time. So, and we still have, we have a game plan for, at the bare minimum, the next 6 months. My doctor wants to do 3 rounds of Femera with just like timed relations. And if I'm not pregnant by the end of by the 3rd month, then we're moving on to IUI. So what that is intrauterine insemination or injection, whichever terminology you prefer. And that's where they take the sperm and they wash it, and they use a catheter, and they basically just put the sperm through the catheter up into your uterus next to your fallopian tubes. And as long as the Femara is working the way it's supposed to, and a trigger shot and everything all works out the way it's supposed to, like, there will be an egg released. So I'll ovulate and the sperm will be waiting for it there. And then I'll kind of just take out the middleman, because I did find out that I do have a posterior cervix. So it makes it a little bit more difficult for the sperm to like find its way, because my cervix is like located more towards the back, so it's not like front and center. So it does add a little bit of a complication there, but it's not a huge deal. Just a bad angle, really. So we'll be doing 3 months of this, and then 3 rounds of probably, we'll stick with Femera if it's working. If I'm ovulating and everything on it, then we'll stick with Femera for the IUI. But if I'm not, then she's mentioned moving on to Follistim. I think that's how you say it. I don't really know. So we'll do that next if the Femera doesn't work. But we will do 3 of these, 3 IUIs, and if I'm not pregnant by the end of the 3rd IUI, she's going to put me on the IVF waitlist. And here in Hawaii, the waitlist is about a year long. So between the 3rd IUI and IVF, we'll be doing the self shots, all the injectable medications. I'm not really sure what the protocol will be for that exactly, but that's still like 5 months away now, I guess, because this is month 1. So that's like the game plan. But I'm excited. I'm looking forward to, actually investing all of this time, because last year it was just Clomid, and then defeat and getting fat, and then husband leaving for 3 months and coming back and trying for whatever reason we were trying. But this time it's going to be a pretty steady like treatment, like back to back, minus any time that he'll be leaving for training, which, I mean, you have to always plan for that, because it's the Army, so you don't really know what to expect until it's time to expect it. But I am really lucky, because I do have an amazing husband that is standing so strong by me through all of this. I mean, there's not many 23-year-old guys that are married right now, much less standing by their wife going through infertility treatments. Like, it's a hard time. It's not easy, and he's been there since the first moment that we knew. He was actually, we were dating when I went to the doctor when I was, actually, we weren't dating. We had just met, and I went to the doctor, and that's when my first doctor was like, I don't think you're ovulating, but we'll put you on birth control to regulate your period. So, he knew from day one that I wasn't ovulating, and that it was probably going to be rather difficult to get pregnant. So, I mean, he's been there since day one, really, as far as, the infertility stuff goes. And we got married at 19. Well, I was 19. But now I'm 21, turning 22, and we've done all of this, and he's just been so great. I couldn't make it through any of this if I didn't have him. He's just so much more positive than I am about this stuff, because he's just, these are the cards we were dealt, and we're just gonna have to deal with it, and we can't change it, so we just need to do everything we can, and we will figure it out. Well, I'm sitting here bawling because, it's not happened again, or again, or again, or again. And it's just hard, because every month you just negative ovulation tests every single day of my life, and negative pregnancy tests. And for me, I have a period every 2 weeks. So it's it takes a huge toll on me. And I know it hurts him too, but he tries so hard to be my rock, when I know he struggles some days too. So, I mean, it's been incredible having him as the one that I'm going through this with, because I don't know that there's many other people that would work this hard to do all of these things. It's in no way an enjoyable process. I mean, who likes to, In the process of just getting the semen analysis done, he was not happy about, but he did it. He did it so that we could get that ruled out. You know, he has to listen to me cry because, you know, I started my period again, like it was a surprise. But, you know, it just, every time, it gets frustrating. And he stood by me through incompetent doctors that just wrote me off, and I'm very lucky that I got married so young at 19. Some of you people are like, what the hell? Like, that's insane. But, you know, it is what it is. We got married at 19. Well, I was 19. He was 21. Well, turning 21. Yeah. Because I just turned 19 when we got married, about like 2 weeks prior. So, like, we got a head start. We got a lot of time to get this all, like, going. So I'm so thankful for the amount of time that we're given. We got to start trying in our early 20s. So, I mean, by the time we even leave here, I won't even be 25 yet. So that's, like, that gives us more than enough time to figure out what we need to do, what works, and hopefully we'll be pregnant before we leave Hawaii. We're just holding on to the hope, and we're trying not to get our hopes up too high, because, I mean, it's a huge blow when you get let down at the end of the month after that 2-week wait is over and you find out that the treatment didn't work, the medication you took, and the emotional roller coaster you've been on was another waste. But, you know, I feel like it's really important for me to share the journey that we're on, because there are so many women and, well, couples in general that go through this, and they get ignored by doctors when they're growing up, like I did. I had no idea I had PCOS until last week. Like, I've had these problems since I was young, but people wrote me off. All the doctors wrote me off because I was young, and it was probably just hormones, and I would grow out of it. But I didn't, and I needed help then, and I'm finally getting help now. But nobody wanted to look into it until I was using my eggs. Like, why do I need to be actively using something for you to fix something that's wrong with me? Like, that doesn't make any sense. But I share because I want people to know that, you know, they're not the only ones dealing with this. And it's good to have people to look to. I've sought out YouTube videos since the beginning. I've searched out Instagram pages, and I follow so many, and I've got a lot of followers now on my Instagram, and I just hope that in some way or another that, you know, people look to me for some support, and they're getting some at least decent information. I mean, I'm no supermodel, so, I mean, you know, you get what you get right here. I'm not here to try to be flashy or anything. I want to be real, and hopefully people understand that infertility is not like a taboo subject. Like, it's something that we go through, and so many of us do. 1 in 8 couples experience it, and there's 1 in 10 women that have PCOS. And most people with PCOS go undiagnosed because they don't know, and doctors ignore the symptoms, or they don't look hard enough. And it's not fair. It's not fair to anyone, because this affects so many people. It doesn't just affect me. It affects me and my husband, and it affects my parents and my family members, because, you know, we all speak like they hurt for me. They are hurt for our family that's not growing. They want to be there for us, and getting information put off this long has been a huge distress. But now we're finally getting answers, and I think it's important to share that with people. I think it's important for people to talk about it. So, I do update my Instagram, like, on a daily basis. So if you want to check that out, that has, like, all of my, like, day-to-day stuff. I don't know how like, often I'll be, like, videoing, because I'm kind of awkward on the camera. I don't really know what to say. You guys probably think I'm just like rambling on, so I'll cut it short. Well, not short, it's like 25 minutes now. Sorry. But, you know, if you want to follow my Instagram page, you're more than welcome. I answer questions. My email is the same as my Instagram page. It's Fertility and Fitness. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that, you know, throughout this journey that you guys get some good information out of this and that I'm not totally like wasting my time. But even so, this is a lot for me too, just so I have a way to look back and see the things that we've overcome, because we've already gone through so many things and we've made it through the other side. So again, thank you so much for stopping by and watching. Bye.